Morning you guys, it's Karen and I thought I would come and tell you about my new very simplified skincare routine. And this doesn't have any retinoids in it at all, so no retinol, no tretinoin, no differin, no retinol derivatives, nothing like that. There's no vitamin C in this routine anymore. This is just a very simplified routine and I'm excited to see what happens to my skin in the next few months using this simplified routine. So I'm 48 years old and there's a few age-related things going on with my face and neck that I would like to reduce. If they disappeared, great, but that's not what I'm expecting. So what I've done is I've jotted down the areas of interest, if you like. So the things that I would like to try and help with either skincare or with a device. Okay, the first thing on the list is eye bags, and I've only really noticed this on me. Eye bags and darkness under the eyes in the last 6 months to a year. And I don't notice it all the time, and it's not major, but I'd really like to get on top of it, you know, and try and prevent it getting any worse. So I'm actually trying something for it, which is the Ordinary Caffeine solution 5%. This is something that you guys had asked me to review before, but I didn't really feel like I had any way of testing it out. Even now, I don't think I've got, you know, very noticeable under eye bags or under eye circles, but what I do want to do is try this, see how I find it as a serum, see if I can notice any difference, and look into the research, of course, and let you guys know. So that's what I'm trying for the under eye bags and the sort of darkness. Next are fine lines or crow's feet. So everything sort of, any fine line in this area really bothers me. Ironically, it doesn't show as much without wearing, if I'm wearing no makeup, you can't see them as much. But I've definitely got crow's feet and fine lines here. Maybe because I was a smoker from being a teenager right up until I was, I think, 33, something like that. And I'm not really using skincare for this area because I'm using the Current Body LED face mask, and you may remember I've reviewed that and showed the before and after pictures, and I felt there was a slight improvement in my crow's feet already, and so I'm really encouraged by that. I'm encouraged by the fact that Angie from Hot and Flashy had the same results, you know, in sort of fine lines around her eyes, and also that's what the research showed was kind of the area of the cosmetic area that it was working best in was for fine lines around the eyes. So I'm mostly relying on my LED mask for that, and I try to use it most days if I can. Skincare wise, I will not be using anything specific, but I will be putting peptides kind of on this area. I've used them on that area before, tested it out. They're not sensitive, they don't, you know, there's no risk of irritation with them, and they do draw moisture to the skin. So I'm happy to use peptides in that area. For my hooded eyes, it's kind of a watch this space as to what I'm going to try, because I'm going to make a video on what my eyes were like 6 years ago when I started YouTube and what they're like now, and my feelings now on everything I've done in between. So I've had eyelid surgery, I've had fibroblast treatment, the plexoplasma, I had 3 sessions of that. I've used and tried tretinoin and all other types of retinoids. And Botox was something that worked very well for me. So I am going to do a video separately talking about hooded eyes and what I feel has worked. Going forward, I would like to try this little device, is one that I have at the moment, microcurrent technology. So you can, you know, do this with this one that goes across the eye area like this and works on the muscles to help them, you know, hold up your eyes. The problem with this for me at the moment, I am testing this at the moment, but the problem is that I have had Botox, although it hasn't been as successful for me this time. I'm not going to go into it here because I've got lots and lots of videos still on my channel on that, and I'll talk about it more in that hooded eye video. But it means that some of these muscles will actually be too relaxed, too frozen, if you like, and so this won't work great up there, but it might well work sort of under my eyebrow, and I will continue to use this. The Botox will wear off in another month to 2 months. It doesn't last very long on me at all. So yeah, there's a little bit of a watch this space with my hooded eyes, but I suspect it will be something like a microcurrent technology device. Next on the list is pores, and for that I will be testing out the niacin powder. I'm going to be using the niacin powder mixed in with peptides, so I'll be using that all over my face. So in my T-zone area, over my eyelids. I won't put it underneath because I'm using that caffeine serum, but if and when I stop that, I will just extend the peptide and niacin up to this area. But it'll be interesting to see now, using a niacin product consistently, if it does actually have any benefit on my visible pores. Next on the list is neck texture. So I have noticed, particularly right here, that there is an area that looks kind of wrinkly. I can notice it most when I sort of turn my head. You know, I've caught it in the mirror and gone, oh my goodness, that's horrible. It's starting to go really sort of crepey, you know. It's something that can go away if I put oil on it, but it doesn't last very long. You know, if I put that on at night, the next morning it looks exactly the same. So what I'm doing for that is I'm using the peptide and niacin right the way down my neck, but I'm also using the neck and deck, the Current Body neck and deck, so it's still LED light therapy that's just focused on your neck and chest. The final thing on the list is not actually a challenge, but I've put dryness because I think that that's something that's not talked about enough as being an aging issue, or that hydration is an anti-aging solution. It's something that if your skin looks very, very dry, it is going to look less bright. It's not going to look as plump. You know, you just put in a really good hydrator on, you know, putting a hyaluronic acid on if that's what works for you, putting some glycerin into your skin, putting on an oil and really getting your skin to drink up moisture is going to make it look plumper and less aged. And so I've put that on here as one of my things that I would like to make sure is included in my routine. So I've just put down some ingredients. So lactic acid is something that you guys know I love. The lactic acid 10% from the Ordinary is my favourite. That has hyaluronic acid in it as well. Peptides are something that will help with hydration. Amino acid from the Ordinary. I don't have it at the moment, but that's something I would buy, and I have found to work for me better than hyaluronic acid, I would say. If you're somebody, I know a lot of you, when I did that video on skincare products I'm no longer using, a lot of you were saying the same as me, that hyaluronic acid just does nothing for you. So I would recommend trying the Ordinary amino acids because it worked really well for me, and it's lovely. I could specifically tell it worked because I was using at the time the Ordinary SPF, and I don't use that anymore because it was one that made my skin feel really tight, you know, and just dry. It just didn't feel great. It felt like I had no moisturizer on. And so I got the amino acids and started putting the amino acid on underneath the SPF, and it made the world of difference. My skin didn't feel tight anymore. Also on this list is glycerin. Anything that I can find with glycerin in, you know, any kind of serum that is out there that doesn't have fragrance and that has some glycerin in would be great. The only one I have in mind is that number 7 one that I talked about. I think it's called a hydrating water serum or something like that. Natural moisturising factors is something else that I've got on the list for hydration and moisture, etc. And oils. Of course, you guys know I love oils, but specifically I will use Squalane, the borage oil from the Ordinary, and the sea buckthorn oil. So those are my specific aging issues. I can't remember if I told you how old I am. Memory problems with age. I'm 48 years old. So these are the areas I'd like to address. So let me now tell you how I'm putting that together and how I'm using it. I just love that it's such a simple routine, because I'm definitely one, I've talked about it before, where I'm like, see how my skin is doing and then, you know, adjust the products. And I definitely will still be doing this, but it's just a much simpler process now. I don't have any strong acids or any retinoids, so there won't be any worries about dryness from products. So morning routine is going to be, the first step is micellar water for me always. I put micellar water onto a reusable cotton pad and just sweep over my eyes and face. I love putting it over my eyes. It really sort of wakes my eyes up, takes any kind of sleep residue, any makeup residue, anything. So I do one sweep with that. So in the morning after my micellar water, I then use my Current Body face mask, my Current Body neck mask. You can use them together. I have that on for 10 minutes. Then when that's done, I use the Foreo Bear. I use this on just my eye area. That's all I'm using it on at the moment. I'm just going like that. I go once over again with the micellar water and then onto my kind of morning routine, which is using the peptide. And I'm using this with the niacin powder. So that will be the kind of consistent step, if you like. I'll always use a peptide. This one at the moment is the Hylamide SubQ, but I've also got a big bottle of the Ordinary buffet serum to use up. So either one of those serum mixed with a 1/4 teaspoon of the niacinamide powder. That will be followed by some kind of serum, but not always. It depends how my skin feels. So I have currently got, not that one, the EUK that I would like to use up. So I love this. I love the feeling of warmth of it. And this is okay with peptides and with niacin. So I can use those and then follow up with this and then follow up with an SPF. The SPF I'm currently using is the Bare Minerals Prep Step. And funny enough, I have this on today and my skin does feel ever so slightly tight. And so I think putting something like the EUK underneath, because it's got a kind of oily feel, it always seems to help. I noticed that with the EUK from the Ordinary and with the resveratrol and ferulic acid. So I kind of rotate them. I rotate this, the resveratrol and ferulic acid, the amino acids. It's just some kind of nice serum to put on underneath an SPF that feels nice on my skin and that makes it feel kind of plump. And, you know, it's nothing really, I'm not using this for the antioxidant necessarily. I just like how it feels and how it makes my skin feel. So it's micellar water followed by my devices. But if I don't have time for the devices in the morning, I'll do them in the evening. Peptide serum with some niacin powder in it, followed by normally some kind of serum, something like the EUK, resveratrol and ferulic acid, amino acids, followed by an SPF. If I was in a real rush, I would skip all the devices. I would do micellar water, the serum, probably not bother putting in the niacin powder, and then an SPF, and that would be me done for the day. In the evening, obviously there's makeup removal, but I do that in so many different ways. That's not something that will be simplified because I don't think it needs to be. I'll be using some kind of cleansing oil if I'm in the shower. If I'm not, I'll be using, I don't have it here, but some kind of oily makeup remover like the oil and water one from the Inkey list, or there's a vitamin E one that I use from Superdrug. And then again, micellar water to take all the residue off and to take any last bits of makeup off. Then I'm going to use the peptide again. I really want to give the peptide a good chance, and I want to use it twice a day as it is in a lot of the studies that I looked at, and again putting in 1/4 teaspoon of the niacin powder. I don't see any issues for me using it twice a day, and I have done that to test that my skin's okay. I have no reaction at all to niacin. So peptide and niacin powder followed by the natural moisturising factors and an oil if I feel like my skin needs it. And the type of oil I would use would be probably Squalane. And I use these in, I can either use the Squalane first and then put this on to kind of seal the oil in, or I can put this on and then put the oil on top. Doing it that way, the oil will penetrate through the natural moisturising factors, but your skin will still get the benefit of the NMF. If I do it the other way, where I put the oil on first and then this is not really going to penetrate through the oil necessarily, so you won't be getting the goodness from this, but that's just sometimes how I prefer to do it. Or I'll even like add a couple of drops to this and put it on as a mixture. But I've been really enjoying this, and this is something that I didn't used to like. Probably some of you are like, I thought you hated that. I didn't hate it, I just I think I only ever got it once, possibly twice. I got the small little tube. I don't know whether they've changed it or maybe I've just changed with age, but it seems to me to be a bit thinner. It doesn't feel quite as thick to me. Or it might be, like I said, maybe just my taste has changed. I always knew it was a good ingredient and a good thing to use, but I just didn't enjoy it, but I have been lately. So it won't necessarily always be this, but it'll be some kind of night cream like this that has no fragrance in, and that, you know, doesn't necessarily have any specific actives in, but is just something that's going to help hydrate your skin. If I'm not using Squalane, I would use the borage oil from the Ordinary or the sea buckthorn oil. So again, a really simple routine: peptide with niacin powder in it, natural moisturising factors with oil. That's really it. However, there's another ingredient, which is the lactic acid plus hyaluronic acid, that I love to use if my skin is feeling like there's any dryness. So not if it's feeling dehydrated and tight, I don't necessarily use it then, but if I notice any sort of dry patches on my skin, or even just as an occasional treat for my skin, if you like, because I love the way lactic acid makes my skin feel, but I don't feel like I need to use it like every day or, you know, twice a week specifically. I just use it when I feel like my skin needs it. I suppose it's kind of like using a mask. So when I use the lactic acid, I wouldn't use the peptides or the niacin powder. I would simply do my micellar water, put my lactic acid 10% on, I normally wait about 10 minutes and then follow it with natural moisturising factors with or without an oil, depending how my skin was feeling. Don't forget as well, I'll be using my caffeine serum just underneath here, just while I'm testing this out. And then, as I said, if there's no evidence for this, or I'm not seeing anything, or I'm not enjoying it, then I will just make sure that my peptide and niacin goes further up. The final thing I do at night is I use an eyelash serum. So currently I'm using Revitalash Advanced, but there's a couple that you guys have told me about that are less expensive that you swear by. So I'm really going to give them a try and see what I think. I'm not convinced at all, because they don't have even the synthetic ingredient in that can do anything. So but I'm going to try it anyway. So my eyelash serum goes on at the end of my nighttime routine. Okay, so that's everything. I don't think I missed anything. I'm really excited to see what this does for my skin, because I feel like for quite some years now I've been using some form of retinoid normally, or if not I've been using bakuchiol, or if not I've been using some kind of acids, or even mixes of acids. And you know, I can't think of a very long period of time that I've really just left it without any harsh actives, if you like. You know, to me peptides are very, very lightweight, which may mean that they don't do anything, but I'm interested to see what they do just using peptides and niacin, and see what can happen just using that. A lot of you guys asked me if I was going to try bakuchiol again, but there's nothing really there's no product out there that I want to try with bakuchiol in it. And remember, I did the 6 months before and after using the 1% bakuchiol. Now, people have asked why I don't use a more concentrated version, but that would be the oils that I got from Amazon. Doing more research later on, I found that they could have toxins in them, so I didn't want to use them. If a higher concentrate of bakuchiol came out in a formula that had no fragrance in and was in a form that I may want to use, that's something I might well try. But I do want to give this at least a couple of months using these ingredients and see what it does to my skin. You know, I'm excited about the fact that I am going back to not using anything harsh on it, and it would be especially interesting to me to see if my skin goes back to being oily, because I am perimenopausal for sure, and so my skin will be changing anyway. But before using all of these harsh ingredients and experiencing dry skin, I had extremely oily skin because I had a hormonal imbalance. I have polycystic ovary syndrome. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what my skin does with a much gentler routine. So I will keep you updated, of course. I will perhaps come and do a kind of interim update after a month or after 2 months. Let me know what you think. Or if I'm about to change something, you know. Yeah, that's everything. I will tell you what I've got on my face. I have got on the Hourglass Stick Foundation in Shell. On my eyes is a liquid eyeshadow by e.l.f. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it in the description. This is an e.l.f. blush as well, actually. It's one of those, the primer infused blush, and I can't remember the name of it either. On my lips is a sleek liquid lipstick in metallized rose. And I think that's everything. Yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.